Let's go. Sherman, how you feeling? I see you got the baby right there. Baby Sherman.
I was trying to put her down to sleep, but she wanted to be up.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. She looking good. Hey, cutie.
Yeah, keeping
How
me
old is she
busy.
now?
Just over 2 months.
Yeah, 2 months, y'all. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. How you feeling? I see you got the baby right there. That's the playback. Hold on. Let me put it on mute. I gotta find the setting where when you hit record on YouTube that it mutes instead of coming in like that. All right, share my screen. Alexa, off. Here we go. Can y'all see that? Give me a thumbs up.
Is there?
All right, here we go.
Credit on their motorcycle policies with a Geico Give Back. And because we're committed for the long haul, the credit lasts your full policy term. The Geico Give Back, helping riders focus on the road ahead.
And welcome back on this Monday morning. And Hoda, you've got some interesting perspectives on all of the events that we've seen play out in our country over the past few years.
I've been especially struck by the images of the real young people who are protesting and calling for change, because a lot of adults lose sight of the big picture. So we like to take lessons from kids. These are kids who are ages 10, 11, all the way up to 15, who have a way of seeing things more clearly. Across the country, Americans are rising up and taking a stand, demanding change. Alongside them, new voices, kids who understand the simple truth that all men and women are created equal. To better hear those voices, I asked a few of tomorrow's leaders to talk to me about what we can do to help fix things today. Hi, guys. First of all, I want to thank you. You are smart people, smart kids, and we need smart kids right now. So we need y'all to help us out of this mess that we're in, okay? Can you all help us?
Yes.
Yeah. First, there's 11-year-old Rosalie, whose favorite sweatshirt says it all. 7th grade buddies Logan, Josh, and Aiden have a friendship that's colorblind. And then there's Marley, a 15-year-old activist who campaigned to get thousands of books about Black girls into schools. Okay, Marley, I'm going to start with you. Just give me your reaction to what you see going on outside right now.
Well, the moment that we're living in is kind of frustrating because it feels as though it's an attack on people that look like me, which is really scary and disappointing.
Aiden, when you look out at what's going on the streets, how does it make you feel about yourself?
I feel endangered, like I'm being hunted because I'm different. And I find that just unacceptable.
Why do you feel that way, honey?
Because people are being brutally murdered for no reason.
Aiden, do your parents ever talk to you about the way you should act when you're in public?
They always say, be careful, know your rights, and never disrespect the police officer.
Be careful, know your rights, never disrespect a police officer. Have you ever felt intimidated when you were walking around?
Yes.
Like, give me an example.
Like when I was walking my dog Phineas, I felt like it was night, so I didn't want anybody to come and be like, oh, he's an African American boy at night. He must be doing something bad.
Doesn't that make you sick?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why? We're all the same.
Yeah, drawn.
Logan, when you look at everything that's going on, do you know what everybody's fighting about?
I think they're fighting about police brutality. Also, yesterday my dad said, you don't know what it's like to be black until you walk a mile in my shoes. And he said it because I really didn't understand what was going on. And what he means by that is you don't know what it's like to see people clenching their bags when you're walking down the street. He says it happens every day.
One of the first times that I personally saw or witnessed inequity was with my own hair when I got to elementary school. A lot of the kids at school would say that it was taking up too much space and they wanted me to sit in the back, or that it was dirty. And these things were super frustrating because I felt like it was completely out of my control.
Well, your hair is gorgeous.
I love your hair.
Yeah. Rosalie, did something happen at camp that?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
I saw some people from a different cabin. They were saying how they didn't want to play with someone because of their race. And at the time, I didn't really say anything to them at the time, but I talked to my counselors. And sometimes, I kind of regret not saying anything, but I also at the same time don't, because I could have made things worse.
So Marley, if people aren't sure whether or not they should speak out, what's your best advice to them?
I think the best thing you can say is, how much do I know about the situation? So I think Rosalie did a great job in knowing that, oh, I don't know 100% enough to just go in and try and stop something, that I can ask an adult who may know more than me. So it is finding that balance, and I think she did a great job.
Thank you.
Josh, tell me what we should do to end racism. What would you say?
I would say that we're all the same. We're all people. I say that it's gonna be okay, and soon we'll all be friends and it'll be over.
Do you think we just need to make our circles bigger to have people around us who are different from us?
I 100% agree with that. I think people need to understand that racism exists, and that we need to understand that it's okay to be Black, it's okay to be white, it's okay to be Pacific Islander. And all of these differences is what in fact makes this country beautiful and amazing and makes us the people that we are.
So this video is one that was done just a month ago, because I like to have things that are relatively current to have the discussion about. And the book talks about us understanding and being able to grasp reality. The reality of the situation is that we're living in very pivotal times that you guys have to be aware of and you have to be prepared for. So when you see videos like that, what comes to mind? How does it make you feel? Will, you can start us off. What comes to mind?
That we won't be equal to the white people, and we always be disrespected.
Now, when you say, you feel that you won't be equal to the white people and always feel disrespected, put that in context with who you're around today. If you're mostly around Black people, do you feel respected and valued by your own people?
Yes, sir.
And tell us how so. What makes you feel valued and respected? What types of actions?
Because I grew up with them, and they're my brothers, and I know them for a long time.
Okay, so they give you the same sense of brotherhood and friendship like the three kids that were in the video.
Is there?
Okay, and that's fair to say because for me, I grew up kind of best of both worlds, so to speak. I had friends that I grew up that looked like me in the inner city of Washington, D.C., but also when my parents moved out to Prince George's County in the suburbs, also had a very diverse neighborhood as well. I had Asian, Hispanic, and white friends, as well as Black growing up. So I got to have a feel for how they feel in the video, those three young boys, as well as, how you feel and many of you feel, growing up in the inner cities and things of that nature. So being respected is an important thing, but many times we don't get that kind of respect. Dylan, what would you say about your feelings about the video we just watched?
After hearing what the kids were talking about, how they all just want equality, it gives me hope for the future that hopefully it's going to be different than what it is now because the younger generation has a different mindset.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's interesting that you said that because I think Sherman can chime in. We grew up feeling the same way you guys feel now, where we feel that Martin Luther King's dream and everything that he fought for and many others have fought for, we were starting to see that because we grew up being able to be in diverse communities, being able to go to schools and join clubs and play on teams and things of that nature with kids that look differently than we do. But the underlying thing is that a lot of them we're being taught some of the old ways of racism, bigotry, and hatred. Now, whether they grew up to accept those things or they did not, or they lived their own lives, the fact of the matter is that we still live in communities where we have people that were still harboring these feelings. They just didn't express them at all times. So the hope is that we continue with you all in the same generation that these young people are in, that you grow and you continue to teach your kids and your kids will teach their kids that we shouldn't live or be in this manner. We really shouldn't be having the argument whether or not Black Lives Matter. And that's the whole point of this conversation. When John Maxwell talks about embracing reality, he talked about three different types of reality. And all of those realities have you examining within yourself, your own circle, and then outside of that circle. You guys ever heard of a comfort zone? You know what it means to have a comfort zone? Talk to me. You know what it means to have a comfort zone?
Comfort zone. You feel free around certain people.
Yeah, you can be yourself. You feel free. Drew, what happens when you go outside your comfort zone?
In what subject? Just like
anything, in anything.
Well, if it was for getting into like an area I don't feel comfortable in, say it's in an area in school or I'm going to somewhere where I feel like I would be in danger, I would stay close to whoever I'm around and then find a way to either leave the place or get comfortable around it and find out the positive things about it so I could get comfortable around it.
Okay. You said something key. You used the term danger. Okay. Danger. Jordan, type in the chat how you felt after you saw that as I'm continuing to talk. Danger. The young boy said that he felt hunted. Now think about him saying that. He looked about 10 years old, 10, 11 years old, and he's already talking about because of the color of his skin, he feels that he's being hunted along with everybody else that looks like him. That's that danger aspect that he's talking about. And his reality is like, how do I step outside of the confines of my home, my community? Because if I go further than the boundaries of where I feel safe, what may happen to me? That's a physical thing, that's a mental thing, that could even be a spiritual thing where you think if I go too far outside of my bubble, the boundaries that I deem to be safe, am I going to come back home? Am I going to see my parents again? Am I going to see my friends again if I walk to a store on the corner that might be a little bit outside of my neighborhood, but I want to get a drink and some candy? You know, what might happen to me? Is somebody going to see me walking if I got the coronavirus mask on and think I'm a danger to the neighborhood, and then they kill me based off of that? These are things that have happened in the last 10 years. And the one with the mask just happened a month ago, I believe, where a young man was just walking from the store or wherever he was coming from, and he had on his ski mask because he also had other conditions, because he was anemic, I believe, so he gets cold. So he had the mask on so he could keep himself warm, but he was deemed as a threat because he was acting suspicious. It's no wonder that you guys and others your age are talking about being hunted. But can we grow if we don't come out of our comfort zone? Blake, what you think? Can we grow if we don't come out of our comfort zone?
Probably not, because if you don't find your comfort zone, then you're just gonna keep on being frustrated with yourself.
Yeah, you might become frustrated, but you'll also stay safe. That, at least that's what people tell themselves. If I just stay here in this place, at least I'm safe. You know, but coming out of my comfort zone, I'm not able to grow. So as a leader, you can't allow fear to keep you stuck in one place. And that's some of the things that were being brought out in the book. In order for you to improve, in order for you to grow, in order for you to reach the goals that you guys have set for yourselves, you can't allow being scared or fear to keep you from moving. Basically, it's about how you communicate. It's about how you open your mouth. It's about how you surround yourself with people that can help to keep you safe. And believe it or not, there's still a remnant of police officers out there who actually do their job to keep the community safe. You know, I was at a rally this morning, early this morning. I got up at 5 o'clock to head down to Comar Manor in Cottage City, because the police chief, Anthony Ayers, is a good friend of ours that did work for Mentoring the Manhood, as well as he's a former Prince George's County police officer, as well as I think he was the former chief of God, right over there by Andrews Air Force Base, that little town over there. Well, it escapes me. It's like Suitland Road connects Allentown Road with
Morningside?
Yeah, Morningside.
Okay.
Yeah, he was he was the police chief over there as well. And what he was doing today, Aisha Brave Boy was out there. That's our state's attorney. Jolene Ivy was out there. She's also a state representative, and a couple of other people. Is he's showing that through his leadership in his police department, that he is changing that narrative back to community policing. And what community policing is when the citizens of a county or city or town, they partner with the police in order to make the relationship solid again, so that a police officer can walk down the street and you actually see him or her as a friend, as an ally. The crime that's going on in your neighborhood, because of that partnership, you work together to get those real people out of there who are bringing your communities down. That's how you do things and how it's supposed to be. And if it were like that across the country, we wouldn't have people getting choked out, shot up, being killed because of the colors of their skin. And then when you compare it to our white counterparts for committing the same crimes or being under the same suspicions, they walk away almost every time, almost sometimes with no arrest at all. And then it's not that they didn't give the police a hard time, or they didn't try to run, or they didn't mouth off, or they didn't tell them how they felt about being detained and stuff like that. It's just that they were treated differently by the color of their skin. And those are the things that we have to be mindful of, that we are educating ourselves and then doing our part, but also demanding the justice that we deserve. So as we move down and we look at the whites and the blacks and the Hispanics and the different races that live in our melting pot of our country, the only way that we're going to all be within the same reality is if we talk to one another, if we find ourselves in circles together where we have the conversations. Look, a lot of white people are genuinely coming out now saying, look, I want to understand what is going on. I want to understand, like the young boy said, his dad said, look, you don't understand what it means to be a black man unless you walked in my shoes. Have those conversations. Look, they can't change their skin color and then be black one day, right? So they have to do it through the conversations that we share with them, that we have to educate them. You know, we have to let them know that we are human beings just like you. We go through the same, we lace our shoes up the same way you do. We bleed red just like you do. We work the same jobs. We go to the same schools. We play the same sports. We read from the same books. We eat the same foods. So why treat us any differently? Martin Luther King Jr. reminded us that we should be judged by our character. Does everybody know what that means? What does character mean, Jamari? What does it mean when he says we should be judged by the content of our character?
It means like your personality and like what represents you.
Yeah, how you carry yourself, your personality, you know, the things that you value, your behaviors. You know, many of us, all of us, well here, but many of us talking about society come from great homes. We have parents that have taught us the right way. They've afforded us every opportunity to go to quality schools, to get an education, to be in diverse situations. When I was your age, my mom had me in private school. My dad had me in private school. They had me in different groups that were diverse. I found myself in high school going over to George Mason, George Washington University, Georgetown, because I needed to be around and in groups and on teams that had whites, Hispanics, Asians, you know, Native Americans, so that you can have those conversations and you realize that you're no different than me. You know what really makes us different? This is a reality check for you. What really makes us different would be the cultures that we grow up in, whether it's foreign or domestic. We all grow up in different communities that help to develop the cultures that we actually express today. We might all be Black, right? But all of us have different cultures because we all grew up in slightly different environments, you know? And then when I left here and went to college, guess what I did? I took my culture down to Atlanta. And then Atlanta in turn influenced me. And then I brought that back home. So it makes me slightly different from everybody else, even though I grew up here. So we have to take those things and embrace them. The religion or the belief system that you have, you know, where your family chooses to vacation. All of those things dictate your culture. We're all different here. And we should embrace what makes us different and not hate what makes us different. And that's the truth of the situation. You have family members you don't like because they do a certain thing. Well, why not turn that around? Why not say, I might not do that thing that you do? Now, if it's good, I'm not talking about things that are negative, but if it's good, how about you turn it around and you say, how about I try to understand what they may like or what they may do, what their interests are, because it enriches you and makes you more deep, all right? Anybody on here speak a foreign language? Okay, I had to check myself on that because it was like, first it was like, okay, you're gonna come to our country, you need to learn to speak English. But really, if you look at the English language is really a melting pot of all different languages. You got your British English, you got your German that's mixed in, you got your Middle Eastern that's mixed in. I mean, we incorporate so many different languages, even African language, into what we speak today. But when we talk about they need to speak our language, basically that's a racist statement in itself. Because in order for me to understand your culture, if I want to understand Native American culture, I need to understand your language. If I want to understand Latin or Hispanic culture, then I need to understand the language. And basically, when you learn different languages, you are showing that you are a more open and diverse individual. If you grew up in the United Kingdom, you would already have 2 or 3 languages under your belt. The greatest example I can use is Kobe Bryant, because Kobe Bryant grew up in different places around the world. He could speak several languages, and that's what made Kobe Bryant so much more valuable as a human being, because he understood different cultures, because he understood their languages. He understood what it meant when you live and you learn in a certain area from a certain culture. And this is why you can bring that back and you can influence other people to love others in the same token. So those are important things about reality that I wanted to point out to you today. So when I say the term improvement to you, what does that mean to you guys? Improvement. And y'all can come off mute and let me know what you think that means.
Completing the goal, or like leveling up or upgrading.
Okay. Yeah, did y'all understand what he just said?
Yeah, like do better.
Okay, what else? I got you, Jordan. I'm gonna read it in a minute. Go ahead.
Like when you like doing like a test or something, and last year you did the same test and you wasn't very well. But this year you have did better than last year.
Okay. So improvement definitely is academic. It could be in sports, it's mental, it's social. Like if you get up every day and you don't set yourself up to go out and improve in some way, then you're selling yourself short. You want to make sure that whether it's school, I don't care if it's cleaning up your room, whatever it is that you have been responsible for, that you've been given, try to improve that each and every day. Did you guys read in the book about the Olympian Simone Biles? Did you read about her in the book? How she became an Olympic champion?
No.
All right. So read that chapter in your book. I believe it's chapter 5. It talks about how she persevered, she persisted, and she improved each and every day. That improvement meant that she went from somebody that was almost cut from her gymnastics team to a person that moved to another state to be closer to a world-renowned coach. So then she could turn into one of the greatest Olympic gymnasts or athletes of all time. But it took that improvement each and every day, getting up early into her craft, making sure she did everything, ate right, study, watch film. It's not just a physical thing, but it's a mental thing as well. So Will, do you get better just by dribbling the ball, or do you have to put your mind into it as well?
Put my mind into it. Keep doing it over
If
and over.
you just sat there doing this all day, yeah, you would get better at dribbling, but then it takes the mental aspect to go from dribbling to putting the ball in the hole. That's the name of the game. You don't score points by dribbling. Remember this, they don't give style points because you cross somebody up. Because if you cross somebody up and you miss the basket, it doesn't matter. Exactly. You laughing because I'm right. It doesn't matter. If you drop back and you throw a pass, it doesn't matter whether the completion turns it into a touchdown. If you throw the ball and the receiver catches it, but he's out of bounds, then it doesn't count. So you have to have that mental aspect of it to say, these are the rules of the game. These are the boundaries. These are the guidelines. And if the name of the game is for me to score, then no matter what fashion I do it in, I have to make sure that it's done in proper ways so that I actually get in there. If you push somebody off before you get a touchdown, is it a legitimate touchdown? Because when you see the flag hit the ground, they're going to say offensive pass interference. So that means in the rules of life, you got to do things the correct way to make sure that you're growing in the proper way so that you can attain the results that you really want to have out of life. These things are so important to understand, because if we don't do things the correct way, then the reality of the situation is that when people start treating you a certain way, and if you're guilty, then you have nothing to complain about. My problem with the whole movement is that you got people of poor character or bad character that are doing negative things, but they want to be grouped in with us and say, yeah, all Black Lives Matter. but you have to be the one to tell those people, look, if you out there doing the wrong thing, you the very people that need to be arrested. You the very people that need to suffer the consequences. Now, I'm not talking about being killed, because nobody deserves to be killed no matter what they're doing. That's why we have laws and due process in this country. Go ahead, Jamari. You got your hand up?
Yes.
Go
So,
ahead.
like, cause so some on the news, like on Facebook, my mom showed me these things where all the like white people are doing stuff and for protesting, they destroying stuff. So on the news, they only my mom was like, why they only showing the black people on the news and stuff? Because they only showing the black people doing stuff on the news. My mom said they don't show that hasn't seen not one white person on the news showing doing something bad when she still other things.
Yeah, the one thing that I caught in there is that because you were breaking up a little bit. Yeah, it's true that all people do wrong things, but it's crazy how we're the ones that disproportionately get in trouble. And this is one of the reasons behind the Black Lives Matter movement, because you want people to understand that being black doesn't mean we the only criminals. Being black doesn't mean we the only ones that do negative things. Being black doesn't mean that we can't achieve this or achieve that. So why does it always have to be a black thing? That's why we have to say Black Lives Matter, because they use that negative, those negative stereotypes and just out overt racism to make it look like that because Blake is walking down the street and he might look suspicious, that we need to check him out. Or Drew got his hat down too far on his head and he got a mask over his face, so he about to go rob somebody. Other than the fact that that's your style and you just complying with COVID-19 rules and you're not out here trying to do anything negative, rob, kill, or steal from anybody, you know? And this is what they use. They'll use what happened in DC last week with the shooting that killed the 11-year-old boy, and they'll say, see, that's why we gotta come down hard on black people, because that's the type of stuff that if you don't come down hard on them, they're gonna continue to kill each other, and then they might come and try to kill us too. And you gotta think about that. That's why when we talk about black on black crime, people get all, uptight about that term too. Well, we wouldn't have to say black on black crime if these things weren't happening in our own communities. And then, yeah, other people kill themselves too. But when you look at the rate at which we do it, it's not even comparable to their rates. And we aren't even a majority of the country. So you have to think about that a little bit. If we want change in society, we got to change our own communities first. And that's important. And we got to always remember that. All right, real quick, Jordan said in the chat, the video made me reflect on the past and how African Americans have been treated for 300, now 400 years. It made me think about how racial problems have evolved from slavery to African Americans being killed in the streets by people who are meant to protect them. Exactly. Do you guys know who Emmett Till is? Any of you know who Emmett Till is?
Yes.
All right. Tell me who he is, Drew.
He was a kid who got beaten up for whistling at a white woman.
Oh,
You heard about that, Will? That's your mom in the mirror?
yes.
Tell I said hello.
Hello.
How you doing? Yeah, I can see you. All right, yeah, Emmett Till was killed because it was alleged that he whistled at a white woman. Now, let me tell you guys the story. Emmett Till had a stuttering problem. And in order for him to speak without stuttering, he would whistle first. That would trigger something in his brain that would allow him to get his words out afterwards. So the truth of the matter is Emmett Till never whistled at a white girl directly in the first place. It's just that they took it that way, they lied, and then just like anything else, white people took it to the extreme where they had to take black lives because of the fact is you shouldn't be whistling at a white girl, which truth of the matter is that wasn't even the case. But had they taken the time to understand that he had a stuttering or speech impediment and that whistling was his way of being able to get his words out, they never would have even went to that extreme. But when you hate a people, when you hate somebody, then you find any excuse for you to be able to attack, hurt, and murder them. And that was the truth of the matter. But there's nothing stopping from racist people today from treating you guys like Emmett Till. And see, that's the scary part, which is the reason why it's up to us, meaning my generation, to really stand at the forefront alongside of you to make sure that you're protected. Because we understand a little bit more about what our rights are. We have the right to be armed just like anybody else. But see, they make you think that we don't have that right. But the fact of the matter is the Constitution gives us the right, just like it gives anybody else the right. That's why you see a lot more Black gun groups now coming to the forefront. And it resembles how the Black Panthers came to the forefront back in the 50s and 60s, because they were well armed as well. Just remember this, it's not the guns that are the problem, it's the people that have the guns. So when you have people that seek to murder and kill people and to commit crimes with these things, that's the problem. But now that folks, gun groups in Minneapolis, down in Louisiana, was just on CNN, they're out to make sure our people are protected, not to commit any crimes with the weapons. But if you have white hate groups that are walking on state capitals, you know, coming into downtown areas where we are, what they're trying to do is they're trying to intimidate, you know, and God forbid they actually use their weapons to murder us, but we know that's still happening today as well. So we have to be conscious about reality. So today, I just wanted you guys to see a complete picture about how things look, because as a leader, even if you gain victory, or even if you fail, or even if you're looking at obstacles, you got to have a clear understanding of what reality looks like. Don't fool yourself with a fantasy land world. You want fantasy? Go to Disney World, go to Disneyland, go to amusement park, read it in a book. Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, all that stuff. That's fantasy. But when you come back to reality, how you deal with and how you view yourselves is quite important. Because if you don't view yourself with love, then you can't love other people. And that's a lesson that we have to teach other people, because we're the ones that are hated the most in this country. So if we can show people that we can love despite the fact that you hate me, then that's how you use the movement to win people over to our side. But if we react in the same violence that people are bringing to us, then that gives the hateful people reason to keep saying, that's why we got to treat them that way, because they're a violent and hateful people, but we're not the ones that hate. Even when they took us off the shores of our own continent, we tried, even as slaves, to love our enslaver. If you don't believe it's true, do your history. That's why we always have that same mentality today, where we try to continue to love folks despite them trying to harm us. The man that was accused in Central Park of by the lady with her dog, you know, he ain't even do anything. So I don't even know what I'm saying he was accused of, but she said this angry black man here. Do you know that he doesn't want her prosecuted because what she did was actually against the law? You can't report a crime or somebody threatening you that didn't happen. That's actually a misdemeanor. It's against the law. So he doesn't want the law to be prosecuted against her. So that makes my point that we're always forgiving and loving, even when people do things that are incorrect towards us. We've been conditioned that way. And that's what will help our movement move forward. We have to be able to be nonviolent and to forgive people so that we can continuously make the changes in the laws. We got to do it. So just keep that mentality. Doesn't mean you don't stand and you don't fight, but it's a way that you got to do it. And it's a way that we can protect ourselves and still be nonviolent in the same token. Are y'all with me?
Yes, sir.
Y'all have any questions, concerns, or comments about what we did today?
No, sir.
Go ahead. Is that Jamar?
Nope. Yeah. What you gonna say?
What you gonna say?
What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say? What you gonna say?
All right. All right. So everybody, I want you to give us some closing thoughts before we close out today. And basically, let me shift gears a little bit with my final thought and my final question. I want to know exactly how beneficial these classes are for you. I want to know how you're feeling. I want to know if there are any suggestions that you would have to make it better. Again, these are designed for us to actually be in person because I have a lot of activities that we would do together to keep us moving. But this is the format that kind of limits us a little bit. So just let me know how you're feeling moving forward. And we'll start with Blake.
I'm feeling pretty good. This leadership class has actually helped me a lot from other times that I failed, and you taught me how to bring myself back up and how I should do things better. So it really helped me a lot.
Okay, excellent. And just like I told you guys from the beginning, I know that this format can get kind of boring because we're grown. Sherman will tell you, we in meetings, Zoom meetings all day, where we work, with clients, everything. And sometimes anything that goes longer than 30 minutes, and it's like, yo, that's why I try to keep you guys, to an hour so we can close out, get the meat of what I'm trying to say. We see a couple of videos, have a short discussion, and then we can move on with our Saturdays. But I don't want to do things that aren't benefiting you. So thank you, Blake, for sharing that. Okay, we'll go to Drew. How you feeling about these, Drew?
The classes are good. They're very beneficial to me, and I can use the information on my family and friends and on myself to better myself and my friends in a way.
Excellent, excellent. And see, Sherman is not just my buddy, but he's also my business partner as well. That's why I invited him on today. So we're constantly talking about different ways to do this. And trust me, we can't wait until we can safely get back in person because we like to take you guys on field trips. We don't just stay in a classroom. We like to get out and do things, different activities. We like to go eat. We like to do different stuff like that. So trust me, as we move forward and I, tell your parents about future offerings that I have, we'll be making sure we do many different activities to kind of drive that point home. And like I said, I know your parents and you all come from great homes. And sometimes it helps to have an outside voice, positive voice, really feeding into you guys. Because remember, we were your age once and we thought our parents were overbearing and they didn't know what they were talking about all the time and all that kind of stuff. But when I started hearing things from mentors and people outside, good teachers and all of that, that were saying some of the same things, then it started to really hit home. And that's why we give back to you guys today. Okay, Will, you're up.
I like the class because it's good to talk about what's happening about Black Lives Matter and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's good. The reality is that I want you guys to see what's happening in the real world. Sometimes if we just talked about what's going on in a book, it doesn't give credence to how it relates to real life. So that's why today I haven't had the discussion with you guys about Black Lives Matter. But this week specifically, a lot of people were saying false things about the movement and who Black Lives Matter is and all that kind of stuff. And I wanted you guys to understand that there's an organization, Black Lives Matter, and then there's the mantra or the movement, Black Lives Matter. And you can be mutually exclusive or you can be about both of them. But I want people to understand that because you're saying that your life matters doesn't make you a part of the organization or vice versa. But the fact is we need to have a voice. So that's the key part of it, that you have a voice letting the world know that you love yourself and you want folks to know that you're important and that you matter and that you want change to come about because you don't want to be the next victim of a police that you don't know has your best interests at heart or legislation that doesn't have you at heart or things going on in your community where you're not getting the resources and the things that you deserve, just like any other rich county across this country. So this is the reason why we speak up. And you guys are going to be much more empowered to have a voice than we were, because we're pouring more into you than we've gotten. And we want to make sure we partner with your parents to be able to do that. Okay, Dylan, you're up.
Since I started the classes, I think they've been beneficial, especially the one today. Watching the video of the kids giving their feedback on what they think about what's happening right now it was just interesting to see.
Excellent. And I do have other videos. I'm gonna email them to you so you can watch them at your leisure. Like I say, I have a lot of things. If you look at the agenda, we need touch on most of it, but that's cool because these are things that, you know, you have the form, the paper, you can look up on your own, and we'll touch on as we move forward. All right, Jamari. And Jordan, you can type yours in the chat real quick. Go ahead, Jamari. So how are these sessions working for you, young brother?
They're working very great for me, and I'm really understanding what is happening. So it's really great for me.
Okay. And just so you all know, you know, Jamari gives me feedback during the week. He'd be like, "Man, this wasn't so good. That was good." And I appreciate that because I want you guys to be honest. And just today, if you want to shoot me a message, email, text, or whatever during the week saying, "Oh, this just popped up. I think we should talk about this," or "This is an issue that I'm having, Mr. J. How would you approach this?" All of that is good. You know, my door is always open, and I want you guys to know and understand it. All right, Jordan, are you typing a book? Oh, there we go. He said they're working great for me. It's helping me become a better leader in society and helps me to learn more about the world. And that's good because Jordan is on his way into manhood. He about to, you know, get on out there in the real world because he's older than the rest of you guys. And I think Grayson is approaching his senior year as well, 17, 18 years of age. So it's good to have a nice group of you guys here because that feedback helps the younger ones, and then the younger ones, your feedback helps the older ones. So it's good for us to be able to talk together. That's why I wanted a nice range of teenagers, because you guys have seen and been through some things that you can share with one another, and that helps you guys move forward better. The other thing that I like about being in person is because you guys get to form relationships with one another. It's kind of hard to do over virtual, but you never know where your next best friend might come from. But it comes from actually being in that space together. Okay. All right, Jamar, I know you about to eat. I'm done. I'm done. So go ahead and eat, brother. Thanks for joining us today. I know everybody's hungry. I know I am. All right, well, that's my final thought. Sherman, did you want to chime in on anything before we jumped off?
Yeah, real quick. We touched on a lot of topics today. What I do appreciate more is that you guys are not given the spirit of fear. So that is stopping your way of accomplishing your goals. With that being said, we are Black men, and that is a strike against us in the society. However, that's not going to stop us from overcoming that and achieving what we need to achieve to make change in this country. So take heed to what Reverend Bradford is talking about. He's giving you a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge. The next steps I want for you guys to put it into practice. It's one thing to hear it, it's nothing to do it. We have to go out and do the work. So that's going to be our next step as we move forward.
Excellent. I appreciate that. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
You too.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
When you play this.
And bye.
Bye, nephew.
Hey, Jumanne, good session. I'm sorry, I got the kids trying to walk
Oh,
around
no,
with no
you
pants
good.
on. I'm like, go
Oh,
back
I'm
outside.
loving that t-shirt. Yeah. I just looked on their website. I had to get me some Black Lives Matter stuff. I don't have any.
Okay.
Yeah.
My principal, she's leaving Largo. She's going to Montgomery County, but before she left, she protested.
Okay.
In DC, and she actually got us the admin team shirts.
Okay.
But she is even though she's from Iran, she's an avid supporter of Black Lives Matter.
Right.
She even signed up to be a for those that get locked up, to be a support for those people if they get locked up doing protesting.
Okay.
So she goes down there, she'll stand by, she'll take names down if there's a